Hope everybody's doing good on this Sabbath. Gonna do this short one. This is gonna actually be a real short video, guys. Part 2. Get ready to put these out on YouTube. We're gonna continue on with the subject of deportations and what the Bible, not necessarily what the Bible says about it, but what you're seeing on YouTube, folks. Well, let's let the scriptures do the talking, guys. Real quickly, you go over to 2 Timothy 2:16. At the same time, shun profane babblings. Shun profane babblings, folks, for this is going to lead further to lawlessness and spread like gangrene. The Apostle Paul meant what he said, and yeah, it's true. The more I'm seeing these things on YouTube, this hot topic, folks, is a very passionate subject, deportations, and the audacity that a lot of false ministers or false teachers are getting on and leading many astray, folks. Hold on to your crown. That's all I gotta say, because it is getting bad. It is. That's all I gotta say. So all I can do, folks, is do what I was told to do. Order a report back to duty in 2018. That's what I'm gonna do, folks. And shut this stuff down, because it is ridiculous. It just really is. Let's go and go to one group. You're going to see, folks, this is a serious, what Hosea 4:6 is talking about, this is a lack of knowledge. It really is. But Yahweh's people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, and boy, I had no idea. What it's going to do you later on is pretty much your pride. Once you are given that knowledge to see you're wrong, then what? It turns into pride. And then that's what finishes you off. So it's just, that's flat out that simple. So let's go ahead and go to another group, folks. Excuse my passion, because the ignorance is incredible, but then it's not just ignorance, because Yahweh corrects those that he loves. Okay, me, you, he does. But when we choose to ignore the truth when it's right in front of your face, then it's not ignorance, it is stupidity and pride. And that's something that Yahweh's not going to tolerate. Let's go over to the video we're talking about, folks. It's going to be short. Steve Deese makes a biblical case for mass deportation. Okay, whoever Steve Deese is on Blaze News. Again, folks, I'm not a Democrat, not a Republican. Can't serve two masters. You can't. All I'm here to do, folks, is dissect this garbage. Like 2 Corinthians 10 says, our weapons are not weapons of this carnal world, of the U.S. military. No. They are much mightier before Yahweh. They're casting down the strongholds. And that's what we're going to do, is take this garbage down with the truth. So let's go ahead and, we're not going to look at all this video, because only half of it, the first half, is where he addresses biblically his interpretation. The rest is just politics. That's what we're dealing with, folks. Remember, we're just dealing with the biblical aspect. So let's hear what you're... let's go ahead and let the music play.
Millions of people is already facing pushback, even from fellow Republicans in Congress. Our next guest believes that there's a biblical argument to make for Trump's plan, as he recently argued in his piece for theblaze.com. Blaze TV host Steve Deese joins us now to discuss. So, Steve, a two-part question. One, any surprise because Republicans in Congress aren't playing on our team? And two, what is your argument for Trump's mass deportations?
Did you just meet me 5 minutes ago? Is my answer to number one?
I'm setting it up.
On number two, there's an entire book of the Bible called Nehemiah. One of my favorite books, by the way, and it's about a guy who returns back home to rebuild the walls of his once great civilization. And one of the things he does is mass deportations, so that his culture is not, again, invaded by foreign influences that are anathema to their belief system, because he's got a heritage that he thinks he has got a providential and moral obligation to uphold. And then secondarily, in order to enforce that sentiment, he builds a wall. In fact, he spends the entire book building a wall. That's pretty much what he spends the entire book doing, and fighting people who don't want him to build said wall. So yes, I know there's going to be a lot of people in audiences like this that have been worked over by the milquetoast, lukewarm, spit out your mouth American church, but they would be what we used to call heretics.
Steve,
heretics. Interesting. Heretics. Okay, but let's just examine. Remember Acts 17:11. Search the scriptures daily to see If what I'm telling you is true, or what this gentleman's telling you is true, don't just take our word for it. Be as a noble Bereans, folks. That's what Paul says, by way of the Holy Spirit. Check these things out, investigate it. And a lot of false prophets can go out into the world today. So, first things first, guys, let's go over real quick to Leviticus 19:33. Leviticus 19:33. Keep in mind Nehemiah, the book of Nehemiah, which is in the Bible. It's part of the Bible, folks, Old Testament. Nehemiah walked the earth roughly, we're looking at about 444, 445 BCE. Okay? About 4.5 centuries before our Savior was born. Okay, this was during the time of the Babylonish captivity. This is where the stage is set when you read the book of Nehemiah, just to understand. In Leviticus 19:33, which took place during the time of the children in the wilderness, the children of Israel, for 40 years, folks, that took place roughly about 1,000 years before Nehemiah even considers rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. Not Israel, Jerusalem. Something this man vaguely fails to remember. He's building the walls around the city of Jerusalem, not the nation of Israel. Okay? Bad analogy. Bad analogy. Israel is not just the little city Jerusalem. It is a nation. So, terrible analogy. That is the reality of what the book of Nehemiah is all about. Building the walls of Jerusalem. What about the rest of Jerusalem? What about Jericho? Okay. What about Bethlehem? What about Nazareth? What about Galilee? What about all that? Okay. That's Israel too, right? Well, see, he fails to mention that. So again, his deception is quite obvious if you know what is going on, folks. This is why a lot of Christians, you just got to sharpen those swords up, and you got to understand. Don't let a lack of knowledge destroy you. Because people like this, they will take you to town and take you down. It's just that simple. Leviticus 19:33. One thing that Nehemiah is well aware of is the law. The law. You're going to see that in a minute. He's going to walk right into the hole he's digging. Leviticus 19:33. When Satan sends these ministers out, folks, call it what you will, Yahweh will send the spiritual assassins to show those holes and it'll fall right into it. Leviticus 19:33. Nehemiah was a keeper of the law. Yeah, surprise, a keeper of the law. Okay, and he was well aware of what the law says in Leviticus 19:33. Leviticus 19:33, it says, and if a stranger sojourns with you in your land, you shall not do him wrong. The stranger that sojourns with you shall be to you as the homeborn among you, and you shall love him as yourself, for you are sojourners in the land of Egypt. For you also were sojourners in the land of Egypt, for I am Yahweh, your Elohim. Okay, that's law. Now, when you get to Nehemiah, which is 1,000 years later, you got to ask yourself what's going on. Okay, what is going on? Well, keep in mind Nebuchadnezzar had taken out Jerusalem, taken out Judea, which was Israel was split at this time, folks. The 10 northern tribes were already led away into Syrian captivity. It took place about 250 years before that. All you got is Judea left. And now they're getting attacked by Nebuchadnezzar. This is all, let's see, my history remembers right. 587, 586 BCE. Okay, when Nebuchadnezzar lays a second siege on Jerusalem and down close these walls that this man will be talking about to the city of Jerusalem, not the nation of Israel. Okay? There's a lot more people in Israel other than the Messiah wasn't even born in Jerusalem. Okay? So how does that work? In other words, the guy, okay? But just keep that in mind. That is part of the law. Now, this gentleman is talking about Nehemiah and the fact that, well, the whole book of Nehemiah is about a man, that it's return. going to do mass deportations. You see that in a minute. He's going to be talking about the Moabites. And there's a reason for that, guys. There's a reason for that. You got to understand history. But what I want you to focus on in a minute is hearing the man's context. Remember, first things first, these walls he's rebuilding are the city of Jerusalem that were destroyed and knocked down by Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar II. But the Babylonian Empire was taken out by who? The Persians. Okay? The Persians. You can see that even the Bible speaks in the book of Ezra of Cyrus the Great. All right, was prophesied. This is a historical figure, folks. Cyrus the Great, Great Persian Empire. They're the guns that took out the Babylonian Empire and restored, gave Israel the permission under Cyrus to return. The people go back home and help fund build the second temple. This is all about. You're getting about where the book of Nehemiah is now taking place. That whole time period. Okay, understand the time period, the time frame that's going on. Now, let's go back to what the gentleman was alluding to.
I can't express in words how much I love being able to publish you at the place I come, writing things like this, because it's so true and it's so one of those things that's wonderful, just so obvious when you point it out, like, oh yeah, that is what Nehemiah is about, huh? Mass deportations and building a wall. Interesting. So that isn't intrinsically evil. Why do you think? I mean, let me put it this way: how do we get out of this when it comes to this argument that has been so drenched in Christianity, right? This sort of false charity, this false empathy.
False charity.
I mean, you pointed this out.
In Leviticus 19:33, I just read it specifically. Nehemiah knew that was the law. What are you talking about? You don't get out of the law. Now, the Messiah, however, has a whole different story because all authority is given to him. Remember, our Savior, Redeemer, guy that you call Jesus Christ, Yahshua Messiah, he's not going to come around till another 4.5 centuries after Nehemiah. Okay? Whole new ballgame. All authority is given to him. That's already passed also, folks. So, yeah, you could go ahead and pull out the book of Nehemiah, and even that's going to blow up, sad to say, in your face. And I'm going to tell you why. First things first is, what are these mass deportations you're talking about? Well, let's go over to Nehemiah. What they're talking about, folks, if you're not familiar, this is why, Christians, you got to sharpen those swords up. I'm just telling you, otherwise stuff like this is going to take you down and drop like flies. You go over to Nehemiah, and in Nehemiah you're going to find this. Specifically in the last chapter. In fact, they're going to allude to that in a second. You go over to Nehemiah, this is what you're going to see. In Nehemiah chapter 13, in fact, he's going to allude to that in a minute. Nehemiah 13, verse 1, on that day, they read in the book of Moses in the audience of the people, and it was found written that the Ammonite and the Moabite should not enter into the assembly of Elohim forever, because they met not the children of Israel with bread and with water, but hired Balaam. Yeah, they did. Balak over here trying to get Balaam. You can find that in the book of Numbers. Balaam against them to curse them. However, our Elohim turned the curse into a blessing. So what they're beginning to realize is they messed up about 900 years, 1,000 years earlier by allowing, and which they did, the Moabites and also, it's saying, the Ammonite. Those two group of people right there. Okay? Those are the people, the mixed multitude, that they had to go. They had to kick them out. Now before this, Elisha, the priest, who was appointed over the chambers of the house of our Elohim, being allied to Tobiah, and prepared to himself a great chamber where before time they laid the meal offerings and frankincense and the vessels and the tithes and the grain, the new wine and the oil, which were given by commandment to the Levites and the singers and the porters. Okay, it's going to go on talking about a certain group of people that had to be taken out, kicked out, okay, deported, because This is why they're looking back at the history, the commandments, the law. Now, the problem is Leviticus 19:33 states that, however, you got to understand protocol, how this works. Okay? Yahweh's word is supreme. You got to understand how this works. So, no, everybody was not kicked out, only a certain group of people. Okay? In other words, the illegal Mexican wasn't getting kicked out. The illegal Iranian was getting kicked out. Okay, you can put it in that, put it in terms like that. This is mass deportation of everybody that's pretty much not white, or I shouldn't say that, or American, that is not a U.S. citizen. And now he's trying to get rid of even people that are born. See, this is where it's getting out of hand. This is why, because it's racist. That's the undertone. But understand, that's what you got going on in Nehemiah. And the reason why they're doing that is because of the law of Yahweh, okay, which stipulates everybody else. Nehemiah's no fool. They leave him alone. That's why this guy, what he's saying is, now here's where it gets a little bit, why the guy's argument falls apart. Go over to Amos. And first of all, what's astonishing is these are conservatives here, right? These are MAGA Republicans. You know my argument about the vaccine, okay? The whole argument I've done with the vaccine, no, this is where MAGA shows they're no better than the liberals. Both hypocrites. Both hypocrites when it comes to the word of Yahweh. In other words, Exodus 15:26 shows that Yahweh is our Elohim. He's our Rapha, our great physician. He decides who gets diseases and who doesn't get diseases. He puts the diseases on you, like he did the Egyptians, and he doesn't put them on the Hebrews. He's making it very clear. He determines who gets what and who doesn't get what. It doesn't matter what preventive measures you try. There's nothing wrong with preventive measures, but when you allow them to take out the reality of your faith, the reality that, he controls them, then it becomes idolatry. This whole mask notion, all that, there's nothing wrong with it, but when you start to, there's a line that you cross that just gets ridiculous. Shutting down churches, et cetera, et cetera. Now, mandating because you believe that your brother needs to wear that mask in order to protect you from what Yahweh gives you, that's idolatry, flat out. You can't, guys, in other words, your reality is getting warped. Where's your faith? This is why Peter begins to sink in 141 feet of the Sea of Galilee. Oh, you have little faith. Why do you doubt? See, scientific data taking your faith. Remember, we are justified by faith. That's the Messiah. Remember, this is just a tutor leading up to the Messiah. This man's going Nehemiah, that's fine. But what you fail to realize with the vaccine, if Pharaoh had come up with a vaccine to stop Yahweh of hosts from putting those diseases on them, would that have worked? No, it wouldn't have worked. It would not have worked. That's why his wise men, that's what the story is telling you. That is the wisdom and the mystery. This is why Yahweh is showing through that story. Yahweh knows all things, past, present, and future. This is going to happen again. So what if they struck the Nile? So what if they made the Nile turn to blood too? So what if they made the frogs come up too? In other words, you're puffing your mind up with corrupt wisdom. So what if it eradicated smallpox? You are losing focus. You're setting yourself up for your own fall. That's why the whole vaccine ain't doing nothing. It's just falling into more lies. Yahweh's busting it open, and people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. But he raises up certain people to teach y'all, and then what do y'all do? Anyway, with that being said and done, this is the same situation. First of all, why did Yahweh allow Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians just to destroy that wall? Remember, this man does not even bring up, who is it that destroyed Jerusalem? Who took out Judea? The Moabites or the Babylonians? The Babylonians. But the reason why that happened, this is why you go to Amos, book of Amos, chapter 5. This is why Yahweh raises up more than just one. You go over to Amos. Amos is going to tell you flat out, of the the book of the minor latter, the book of the minor latter prophet Amos. Go over to Amos chapter 5. Amos chapter 5, verse 25. Amos 5:25. Did you bring to me sacrifices and offerings in the wilderness 40 years, O house of Israel? Yes, you have borne the tabernacle of your king Moloch, and the shrine of your images, the star of your mighty one Kayun. Later on, Stephen's going to refer to it as Raphan in the Greek, which you made yourselves. Therefore, because of that, remember this took place 1,000 years earlier. You'll find that in Exodus 32, Exodus 33. Okay, 1,000 years before Nehemiah. 1,000 years before Nehemiah. Because of that, therefore, will I cause you to go into captivity beyond Damascus, the Babylonish captivity. That's going to require Nebuchadnezzar to show up in when? 587, 586, and take your walls down. Beyond Damascus has said, Yahweh the Elohim of hosts. No, Yahweh of hosts, not the angel Yahweh, no. Yahweh the Elohim of hosts, who sits above all. The Father, yes, the big guy. You don't know how to say this. Our Father, Yahweh of hosts, not the angel, hot-headed angel in Messianics, okay, but that's, I'm talking about Christians here right now, which is his name. It's not the Lord. It's not even a name. It's not God. It's Yahweh. Okay, you can find that easily in the Hebrew. That's why they're going to get taken out. So, if Nehemiah would do these mass deportations, would that stop them from those walls from falling? No. Nehemiah is 1,000 years away from even being born. Folks, you're missing the point. Donald Trump, okay, there's a reason. There is a reason for everything. Okay? There's nothing you could have done. No, this man is twisting scriptures on a level I can't. I feel like vomiting. Okay, this is why in the last chapter of Nehemiah, they are going to the book of Moses. They're going old school, and they're searching the scriptures daily to find out where did it all go wrong. Oh, 1 + 1 = 2. Oh, Donald Trump's not doing that. Donald Trump is not doing that. All I hear is that there's so many rapists and murderers. I'm sorry, I live 149 miles. I'm sorry, you're wrong. I have no idea what you're talking about. Even the data shows no idea what you're talking about. No. This is a bunch of lies and doctrines of demons. But again, just to let you know, this guy's talking about, not on my watch.
Curious what the response has been to your piece. But how do we move past this Christianity that's really just, it's like it's associated with a weird kind of liberalism, you know?
I've gotten a lot of reactions from people who had no idea what I was talking about. I mean,
I don't know what you're talking about either.
Nehemiah is one of my favorite chapters in all the Bible.
Yeah.
He returns back home. He goes back to honor his debt to the king of Persia.
Does Donald Trump go back to honor his debt to the king of Persia? No, this is America. This is America. Excuse me. They were led into captivity themselves. Can you bring that up, Steve? Okay, hello, Steve. Hello. The king of Persia is not from Israel. He is a foreign power. What are you talking about? What are you? Bad analogy. Terrible analogy.
Because they're still technically in captivity, the Jews are. And so he goes,
they're still captivity. Okay, so they're in yeah, they're still in captivity. Is Donald Trump and the Americans, are we in captivity? We're about to go into captivity because we are leading people into captivity. Revelation 13. Hello. What are you doing? Steve Dees, what are you talking about? Oh, boy.
To honor that word in exchange for the king of Persia allowing him to come back and rebuild the walls. And he gets a report And he's only been gone for a matter of a few years. And they've already let all the bad influences into the culture. So he goes back to
What bad influences? And yeah, he's right. Yeah, remember, this is what I'm talking about, the last chapter of Nehemiah. Even he just said, the last chapter of Nehemiah. This is why they go to the book of Moses, old school, to find out. The bad influences, the Moabites, yeah, that was the, in other words, they're identifying the problem according to the scriptures. According to the scriptures.
Again, Matt, and then he just goes full Russell Crowe gladiator at my command unleash hell, and he literally talks about, I pulled out their beards and I beat these people for you, Lord. Remember what I did for you. That's literally how the final chapter of Nehemiah ends. And if you were to put that tome in the hands of many of today's pleated khaki sweater vested brigade that not inhabits as much as infests the pulpits of America, I mean, it would be like watching
the pulpits? What do you mean, the word of Yahweh?
You watch them just sit there and dissolve right there, and then most of the women that are there, because it's mostly women that are in your evangelical churches these days, there's very few men. I don't know what it's looked like on your Catholic side, but it's pretty much the Rotary Club on the evangelical church, brother. Except for the Calvinists and the Pentecostals. There are two groups that are often in opposition. They're bringing them in, and everybody else, man, it's just we're sitting here knitting sweaters, okay? And, I mean, the blue hairs would be sitting in the front row, you know, I can't even, I thought we were supposed to be nice until death, but, yeah, I mean, and the fact, by the way, that this has to get published at the Blaze, and is not taught from the pulpit, and the fact that a guy who once referred to 2 Corinthians is probably inadvertently more biblical on this than the vast majority of the church indicates, frankly, why we probably needed a Trumpian figure for this era. The church, frankly, is not
the Messiah. We don't need the Messiah. We need Trump.
Abrogated. It took Gideon's golden fleece. It took it to the pawn shop. See what you can get for it.
Steve, I don't know if you can come up with a biblical analogy for this, but DC and NYC Mayor Eric.
This is where it gets political, folks, so we'll stop out there on this, because they don't mention any other Bible. This is where it's all political now. Cat's out the bag at that point, folks. Isaiah chapter 60. The prophet Isaiah records this. This is what people like this, folks, is they take scripture and they just turn it upside down. They turn it into an abomination. They just flat out, they turn it into an abomination. It spreads like gangrene. Isaiah chapter 60. Search the scriptures daily to see if what he's telling you is no, wrong. Boy, on every level possible. Isaiah chapter 60. You go over to Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 65. I apologize. Isaiah 65, 17. Isaiah 65, 17. For behold, I create the new heavens. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former things shall not be remembered. The former things shall not be remembered, like Nehemiah, nor come into mind, but it comes into his mind. But be glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create a Jerusalem, a rejoicing, and people a joy. And I will rejoice in Jerusalem and joy in my people. And there shall be heard in her no more the voice of weeping and the voice of crying. There shall be no more there an infant of days, nor an old man that has not filled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old, and the sinner be 100 years old shall be cursed. And they shall build houses and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them. They shall not build, and another inhabit it. They shall not plant, and another eat. As for the days of a tree shall be the days of my people, and my children shall long enjoy the work of their hands. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth for calamity, for they are the seed of the blessed of Yahweh. Who is the seed of the blessed of Yahweh? I'm talking about Yahshua Messiah. And their offspring with them. And it shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear. The wolf and the lamb shall feed together. Wait a minute. The Mexican and the American are going to eat together? Really? The wolf and the lamb shall feed together. And the lion shall eat straw like the ox. Wait a minute, that's a mixing of people. Wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. That sounds like the era of the Messiah's reign. Really. All authority has been given to me, Matthew 28. Yeah, Isaiah, of course, taking place a couple of centuries before the Master shows up. Yeah, you're talking the book of Nehemiah. You're bringing up the book of Nehemiah? The book of the Second Temple period area? First Temple? Huh? Really? The wolf and the lamb shall feed together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox, and dust shall be the serpent's food. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, says Yahweh. Sounds like a mixing of people. Wow. Matthew 28. Well, 4.5 centuries after Nehemiah, this guy shows up, Jesus Christ, y'all call him, your Lord, Savior. Well, over in Matthew 17. Peter's astonished because Moses, remember, Nehemiah has to bring out, in that last chapter, Moses. He's got to bring out Moses because Yahshua Messiah is not there yet. This is, remember, where we were kept under faith. This is what Paul's going to talk about. This was an era where people were justified by works of the law, not works of faith like today. This gentleman is bringing up old school. Forget the Messiah. Let's get cutthroat, Trumpian. Let's bring in Trump. There's that word. There's that idol that MAGA loves. Trump. Well, what happened to the Messiah? Colossians 2. Excuse me. What happened to the Messiah? Let's bring in the rudiments of this world. That's why I did the video last time. So in Matthew 17, go over Matthew 17 and see that. The Messiah, Yahshua, he's transfigured. Okay? His face shine bright as the sun. And here's Eliah the prophet, greater than Nehemiah, and Moses, greater than Nehemiah. And Peter is in awe of the disciples. Master. You see that in Matthew 17. Surely this is let me make a tabernacle for Moses and for Eliah. And immediately a cloud comes shadowing them over. I'm just paraphrasing. And what does Yahweh of hosts say? Cuts Peter off mid-sentence. Excuse me, Nehemiah? This is my beloved son in whom I am well pleased. Hear him. Nehemiah? Instead of bringing up Nehemiah, sir, why don't you bring up the Master, Yahshua the Messiah? That's what Matthew 17 reports. This is what Colossians 2 is warning us about. People, men like this. Now I'll go over to Matthew 28, the Great Commission. Matthew 28:16. But the 11 disciples went into Galilee, into the mountain where Yahshua had appointed them. And when they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. And Yahshua came to them and spoke to them, saying, all authority has been given to me right now. Yeah, I know Nehemiah 450 years ago. All authority has been given to me right now. Go to all the nations. What about their, they have borders now, we can't be doing that, we can't spread the good tidings, but, like Peter, we got to be worried about those immigration laws. We need a green card. Joshua, how does that work? Excuse me, where's your faith? Nehemiah, are you serious? Colossians 2, this is what the video was about yesterday, Colossians 2. Be careful with the vain philosophy of men like this, with the deceitfulness of men like this, that all they talk about is the rudiments of the world, people that worship with their lips, but yet their hearts are far from the Messiah. Instead, all they talk about is Donald Trump. Yes, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. Who is your master? You can't serve two masters. Folks, don't be deceived by this garbage. Stick to the Messiah. He is the way, he is the truth, he is the life. Nobody goes to the Father but through him. Not Donald Trump, through him. Stay away from this propaganda. Yahweh bless you. We'll talk again real soon, folks, very, very soon. Just want to debunk that nonsense, folks, that's going to spread like gangrene. Love you. We'll talk again real soon.